Well, he did have that probe running around the map checking everywhere, but
Yeah.
it did miss it because it's in such a hidden corner.
But regardless,
so
you know it's
difficult.
there. So you should, if you used to have a proxy starport, you're going to want to leverage it and continue to leverage it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that he should just have been a little bit more preferred. Now we see with these army sizes that these zealots are just going to tear through the infantry. Zealots with charge are so good.
Oh, and storms
against infantry.
Storms are nice.
It almost doesn't matter that you storm your own units as Protoss. Yeah. They're so strong. It does matter though, but not that much. But here we finally see that Grog is able to get his bases saturated like they should have been about halfway through this game, if not for those drops. And that's what the game would have looked like earlier if that had happened.
And there we go. It's evolved with the GG. So just quick last second points to think about for everyone. So the main points that we made this episode were what? Let's review. Let's have a review moment.
Yeah, because a lot of stuff happened in this game.
So, okay. So first review is the early scout.
Yeah.
We saw that Devolved had come in. There was one gateway. There was a cyber core here, and he didn't see what else was going on until very late. But you said that's probably a good thing, though, because he doesn't want to waste an early scan. That scan was probably well timed. It could have come a little bit earlier.
Yeah, his
maybe.
scouting was actually good, and he made a good model of how to scout against Protoss actually.
And so, as a player, if you see gateway to cyber core, you need to see what came up next. You need to see whether it's another gateway or if it's tech or an expansion.
Actually, you don't even need to really worry so much about if it's another gateway, because usually if they're doing two gateway, they'll do gateway core and then gateway immediately, or even do two gate then
if
core.
you don't see the second gateway, and if your scout got killed before,
if I didn't see the second gateway, I would think to myself that the second gateway should come down before the core's even finished. As soon as you have 150, the only reason why you'd wait to
when he scouted it, the core was just being it wasn't finished yet. That's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is that if you were going to add a second gateway, you wouldn't wait till the core finished.
Yeah.
That the only reason why you'd wait till the core finished and not add a second gateway immediately after core is because if you're teching.
Okay.
So if you scout one gateway and not another gateway going down, really he should have actually tried to keep his SCV around a little longer if possible to try to wait and see if another gateway went down within the next 5 to 10 seconds. And if it didn't, I would automatically know that you're teching, and then try to get away with your SCV and know that you have to rescout later because you need to see the tech pattern, which he did, is kind of what he did.
And now, all right, so second point is Grog put on very early heavy pressure in order to secure an expansion. And that was, we can have different thoughts on it a little bit, but for the most part, in the end, at the very, very end, that's what won the game. At the very, very, everything else aside, even imagine unit compositions were awesome on both ends.
At the end of the game, it was 2 base to 1 base, which obviously 2 base is going to win. I agree with you about that.
But Devolved had a great answer to that in, okay, well, this guy's pushing me here. Let me keep harassing. I mean, that's what Terrans do.
Well, actually, I think that
really well.
See, I have some complicated thoughts about the proxy starport. It was really good move, and he made great use of it. It's what kept him in the game for so long. However, I think that he might have gotten too hung up on the fact that he was proxy starporting and doing a drop. And after he did that awesome scout of the starport, which was perfect, I don't think he actually responded right. Okay, and that's why I was making so many comments about unit composition.
Yeah, well,
I think that at that point he was with that scouting information, he was in such a good position that if he added a reactor core barracks or even two reactor core barracks and made a bunch of Marines, he would have been perfect. Make a bunch of Marines, add a command center, and then add factory and starport for a couple of Vikings, and then make your push with a massive amount of Marines and tanks instead of all those Marauders. I feel like focusing on Marauders so long detracted from that other ideal unit composition.
But I even without you getting that far ahead, just the first point of saying, okay, he had the scouting information, he knew it was happening, even if he was either equal or ahead as far as those drops were concerned because of the amount of damage the Void Rays did. So adding one more bunker or a bunker with reactor, even that alone could have turned the tide early on.
Adding a reactor that barracks immediately, because he didn't add one for a long time.
Yeah.
Adding the reactor that barracks immediately after you scout that and just pumping Marines he would have been fine.
Well,
if he continued to respond correctly as the game went forward.
Yeah. Any other points you want to make besides what happened in the beginning?
Just that I feel like what was really interesting about this game is there was this really cool balance between Grog's second base and the economy he was able to pull in off of 2 bases, which kept being hurt by the drops of Hellions. And then also the balance against Devolved's 1 base, where he had a massive amount of SCVs and workers in his 1 base. I really think Grog's play was overall more solid.
Okay.
But I think that like we said before, if it wasn't for those Hellions, that he would have been able to win much earlier. And so, for Devolve's point, I think that there's a couple things that he could have done to prevent that, because you can't always guarantee that your Hellion drop is going to be that successful.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, he would have been in a much worse place.
Yeah.
One of those things that he could have happened is he could have scouted for the natural. Can you click one of his units for a sec? I don't think he... Oh, now he has.
Well, yeah, it's so late in the game.
So late in the game,
took so
it was
long.
It was almost 4/5 into the game, and he still had not scouted that natural expansion, which happened very early. So actively scouting for naturals. If you kill his entire main base of probes, and he still has large armies that are equal to yours, he must have another expansion. And finding that and attacking that also is going to be key. Also, like I said before, getting the right unit composition to stop that harass. He just stayed on one base too long, let himself get harassed. He didn't even try to expand until way too late. You should not be getting your first expansion at 25 minutes, which is what he's doing. If you're getting your first expansion at 25 minutes, you've lost already, I feel like.
Yeah, well, again, I think that's a problem with a lot of players, and not that Devolve's a new player, he's obviously very advanced, but I'm saying it is a specific problem for newer players, because you feel all that pressure. You feel like, oh man, this guy's coming at me. Like I got to defend, and if I keep, and then maybe even you do see the expansion, you think, oh yeah, he has the expansion, I got to win right now. Like, like I got to win. Sometimes it's taking that risky move. Grog took the risky move and it paid off. He took the risky move of expanding when he did, even though he was being raped by Hellions.
Yeah.
And it's taking that risky move because, again, if you don't take that risk, like that risk, you might lose because of that risk. But if you don't take that, you're going to lose anyways, most likely, unless you were just like so good at your micro game with dealing, with like, okay, I have 15 Marines and I could totally beat 10 Stalkers because my micro is so good. And that's, I don't think there's very few players that have that kind of skill.
You really need to always think about it as a macro game. How are you winning the macro game? Because in 90% of StarCraft games, if you're not winning the macro game, you're losing.
Yeah.
The game. Micro is not going to win you the game in StarCraft. Macro is.
Yeah.
And your economy is what's going to win you the game. So I feel like not expanding for so long
was the final undoing
of Devolved. If Devolved, like, I would think Devolved would have done great if he had done exactly what he did, dropped those Hellions, killed so many probes that he was in such an awesome situation. Grog only had 4 probes after that first drop.
Yeah.
And if he had immediately at that point built a command center, doesn't even have to be at if you're feeling pressured, it doesn't even have to be at your natural. Build it in base.
Yeah.
He's going to be so bad
That way
economically. It's there. You can expand easily. Build that command center, commit to getting an expansion up, and then after that, once you've stabilized, you also need to be able to fight the Void Race better. He didn't handle that great. He didn't get Vikings till the very end. But if he had gotten the starport earlier, which he actually had the starport, so he could have gotten the Vikings.
Yeah.
If he had pumped out 2 or 3 Vikings earlier, and chased away the Void Rays, gotten his expansion up, he would have been fine. Gotten a couple of tanks with Marines in front of them, used Marines to chase away any other, just turtle. Done a Terran turtle on 2 base. He would have been fine if he had done that.
Yeah, and that's another lesson just in general too, of like sometimes even if you're not going to utilize something right away, again, this is a Terran versus Protoss matchup, but to bring a little bit of Zerg strat into it, a lot of times strategy for Zerg is to, even if you aren't like, say you build a Roach Den, you could build a Roach Warren, you could build one and have no intention of building a Roach for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But the idea of it is it's there. It's there because if you get under pressure, you need that unit because you think you might need it because you scouted something iffy. Then it's there. And it's the same deal with a command center of like, okay, so I can't use it right away. Maybe I can't use it, but I'm going to try. And there will be that moment when I can. And when that moment kicks in, you shoot down your mules as Terran, and it's like, holy crap, your economic lead would be just through the roof, at least for like a good couple of minutes.
Another point too is if he had built another command center as main, he could have been using the mules, even if he couldn't have expanded yet.
Yeah. The scans to know that there was this here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I agree with everything that you just said, Guns Akimbo, but it does apply a little bit less to some races than it does to Zerg. I mean, there's some points you can't... Protoss, that really doesn't apply to as much, but Terran, thinking ahead, especially in terms of like building an early command center, or even with add-ons, building early add-ons, or planning ahead your add-ons, if you get a reactor core on your barracks, realize how you're going to use that on your starport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that sort of stuff is totally important. And actually, one other quick point before I'm done with my points is I saw a bunch of extra supply depots in the Terran space, like as if like he used the call down supply ability. It's cool to see that used, but also those are such good targets for Void Rays.
Yeah.
You really got to be careful.
Well, I think
when you use that ability.
I think it's because he was getting supply capped because of all the void ray harassment that was going on the whole game.
Yeah, I think that was part of it too. But I think that those are like such juicy targets
Yeah.
if you're void ray harassing. I'd see those and I'd be like, I'm gonna kill those and take out 2 supply depots for the
Yeah.
cost of 1.
All right. Regardless, we made a lot of points. So
Yeah, I think this was pretty full.
Yeah.
Chock full of nuts, like a candy bar full of nuts.
throw nuts down a tube. I want to get a slip and slide and throw a lot of nuts down them.
Did you ever have a chocolate? Do you ever have a dirty chocolate tube
Like alone or with somebody, like sharing.
with nuts in it?
Yeah.
Did you ever put your nuts into a dirty chocolate tube?
Yeah, once. That's
cool.
why I don't even deal with chocolate tubes no more.
Yeah, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's a little screwed up. Dangler! GG!
GG.